fingers crossed you can see me. Now, I don't know if the audio is in sync. It's going to be a bit tricky. I think it is. The reason why it's all so complicated is basically the fact that I have 3 cameras, which is, you know, a pain having 3 cameras because it's added complication. And what I'm using, as you can see, hopefully, if it goes in focus, come on, focus, focus, focus. Right, there we go. Right. So that is the Atomos Shogun 7, which is what I'm using for switching. So I can change the different cameras, and it's just a nightmare complication. I don't know why I decided to do this, but there you go. I have. So, okay. So you can see, let me just switch to camera 2, and you can see I have cameras here, lots of cameras here. Let's move the Sony out of the way. We've got the EOS R here, and that's the Zcam E2S6. This is the A6600. This is the Fuji X-T3. I don't have an X-T4 yet. I don't think you can get them yet. And oh, I have also, oh my god, I got the wrong lens on for this right now. I have the Fuji GFX 100. So I'm just talking about all sorts of cameras and whether you should be looking at a video camera or a stills camera for shooting video, obviously. Anyway, before I delve into it, I just want to quickly check everybody is saying hello. So yeah, the main issue I've had technically with getting it all to work is you need to make sure that all of your cameras are on the same frame rate and output setting, and they all need to be SDI into the Shogun 7, because if they're not, then it won't let you switch it, which is a bit of a pain. So, but yeah, I mean, it seems to be working fine right now. I'm not recording it. You can also record all 4 streams, but I'm only using 3, and record your actual switching. I'm going to be doing much switching, because look, I'm a guy, and multitasking is impossible. I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I mean, it's just so stupid. Oh, I've got somebody's done it. I thought it was a question, but thank you, Stephen. How is everybody doing? I hope you're being very creative. I've been very busy being creative. I doing so much stuff, and if you want to know what this is on my wrist, this is the Spiffy Gear. So I don't know what they call this, but it's pretty cool. It's RGB, so I can change it and brightness, and I also have another one which is just bi-color. Let's go green for a bit. We're going to go green. No real reason. And the most important thing in frame, of course, is Lollipop, who is the only cat who's been joining me. All the others have been outside for a while. I'm hoping the battery's going to last on the C200. It's just too many things to keep thinking about, but I'm going to do my best anyway. And if anybody can tell me who I am wearing this shirt in honor of, because he put out a fantastic video the past few days, put it in the comments, because there's a reason why I'm wearing this. There we go. So, right, let me just make this chat bigger, because it's such a small window, I cannot see much at all. So, okay, so, you know, my background, of course, is video cameras. I'm not a photographer by profession. I never have been. I filmed news for 17 years, starting in 1989, before a lot of you were born, probably, using Betacam SPs. and big shoulder mounted 2/3 inch sensors. So all of you like going on about sensor size and everything, for 17 years I used a 2/3 inch sensor. So that's a sensor that is smaller than an RX 100, smaller than the Insta360 1 inch, because it's 2/3 of an inch. But it was amazing and it's wonderful, and it's pretty much standard for the industry at that time. Digibeta as well. And then when I went freelance in 2006, moved on to, I still had shoulder cameras, and I moved on to HD, so that was back then. And then on to my first 4K camera was actually, does anybody know what my first ever 4K camera is? I will be shocked if anybody gets it. Utterly, utterly shocked. And yes, it is Josh Make Art Now. So if you've not seen Josh's new film, which is called Anamorphic, it's fantastic. It's the best thing I've seen in ages on YouTube. So there. Where was I? Oh yeah, so then I moved on to 4K, but I'm not going to tell you what my first 4K camera is. I bet nobody will guess what it is. My first 4K camera in 2006 was not the GH4. There's a clue, 2006. So we're going back a fair while. So have a Google what a oh my god, these are the worst guesses ever. The C300 isn't even 4K. Alright, so I'll give you a clue, it's a Sony. In 2006, can you guess which camera was my very first 4K camera? Here's another clue. It had a very small sensor. It had a 1/4 inch sensor. So getting any shallow depth of field was pretty much impossible apart from macros. 2006. If you think the A7S II came out in 2006, not 2016, 2006, that's 14 years ago. This is well before the DSLR revolution, before the mirrorless sub-revolution? Who knows? These are the worst guesses ever. Nobody can look back that far. 2006. The first person to get it wins all of these cameras. Everything here. Including Lollipop, myself, my house. But you've got to guess it in the next 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Close. Virtual one's close. 3, 2, 1. Nobody wins everything here, so it's all safe. It was the Sony A1E. The Sony A1E. Then I got the Sony Z1, and then the EX1, and XE Cam. And no, sorry, then it was the EX3, and then it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. So loads and loads of cameras, but I knew nobody would get it. It was I wouldn't have offered Lollipop up. The cameras, but I wouldn't have offered Lollipop up if it was the case. So I just want to check what my autofocus settings are on. They are on face. Okay, it seems to be okay. Yeah. So the A1E. If you don't know what the A1E is, then I am going to... Let me see if I can find a picture of it. It's not called the A1E. I think it was the A1E. Now I can't even remember. I must still have it somewhere. I can't even find it. Maybe it was just called... The A1 was the E, was the European version. But it was an HDV camera anyway. So there you go. I can't even Google it. Maybe it wasn't the A1. Anyway, I'm pretty certain it was the A1. Then it was the Z1. And then the EX1. And all that time I was using 35mm adapters. So if you don't know what 35mm adapters are, then, well, have a Google. That's how I started my... There it is, HVR A1E. Let me bring up a picture of it. HVR A1E. Yeah, the only thing I don't have connected to the thingy, which I'd like to do, but I don't, is the... here we go. So I'm going to switch to... That is the A1E. I like this switching thing. I should next time have my computer plugged in as well, though, because I think that's kind of what we need. So what are the main... You know, I'm not going to go into the whole DSLR revolution and stuff because you already know this stuff. I want a bit of a debate between you guys, and I want you to give me your questions about this topic. So, because most of my lives, all my lives have been so far about just general Q&A, and what I want from this one is to be a bit more targeted, and that's what I really want from the lives, is to target them. So this is about whether you should be looking at a video camera, and that includes cinema cameras or stills cameras. Which ones should you get? Let me just flick to camera 2. There we go. So, I'm going to ask a question, see if we can get this one. Because I think it's important to interact with you all and ask questions. There are so many prizes on offer. Actually, there are none. But the prize is knowing that you got it right. What is the difference between a cinema camera and a video camera? The problem is there's a big delay, so it's going to be a while before that comes through to you. Do I remember? So let me just look at the questions here. Oh, somebody sent me $25. That's very nice of them. Thank you, Bill. Good man. Look, see if I can get you a big thumbs up in focus. Good man. Thank you very much. And I'm missing the Queen's speech about this. Oh, well. I'll live. I can always watch it online later. Okay, well, I can't remember what the question was. Yeah, what's the difference between a stills camera? No, sorry, a cinema camera and a video camera. There we go. I'm just going to have a sip of my Hendrix and tonic. I have no cucumber because I didn't want to go to the shops to get just a cucumber. So just cope with it like this. But it is Hendrix and Fever Tree Light. And there was a lot of ice in here, but I made it a while ago. So, cheers. I like it with the light. That's kind of cool. So, for me, a cinema camera and a video camera are very, very similar. The only real thing that... Often what I see online is people using the phrase, or the words cinema camera, as an excuse. Oh, it's a cinema camera, so it won't have that. So, you know, when we talk about things like ND, we talk about things like autofocus, and other things like that. Often a cinema camera is defined, you know, people will look at a Blackmagic and a cinema camera. Yeah, I mean, but it's a video camera. For me, there is no real difference as such. It really is just down to branding and marketing. Take the FX9, for example. So let me just get the FX9 in. So here we go. So this is the FX9. This is not classified by as a Sony camera. It would need to have the Cine Outer badge, technically, for that. The reason it doesn't have that badge, it doesn't do 24p dead on, it does 23.98, which therefore means it is not classified as a cinema camera, technically. So maybe it's that, but then again, there's loads of cheap cameras that do 24p dead on, so who knows what the exact definition is. So, there we go. Switch to cam 1. Switch to view. Why are people telling me to switch to view? What am I on? I'm on me. I'm so confused. It's very, 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 very difficult right now to concentrate on talking, reading, making sure with these, and switching. Probably, yeah. I'm trying to do things a little bit too complicated, especially having a handheld one. Just so you know, this this is the Hollyland wireless transmitter on. Rather than having a cable going into the show, I would still need an HDMI to SDI converter anyway. But this seems to work very well. It does have quite a good range, but currently it's going about 30 centimeters, so it's pretty solid, and so it should be. Anyway, so just apologise. Vision mixing isn't my strong suit, and so you're just gonna have to cope if I'm on the wrong thingy. I think what would have made sense is actually to have a program monitor to the side so I can see which camera I'm actually on. So the only way I can see which camera I'm on is by looking over this way, which is crazy complicated and stuff. So I think the way that I should probably in future as well try and do a live stream is to get somebody who could volunteer for me to be looking at questions, and then we could be on a phone call and they could be talking to me in the ear and feeding me any questions. So getting both of them there. So there. Okay, so I launched a new YouTube channel. Well, my first video went up yesterday, and it is a very target market. It is, guess what it's for? I bet you can't. I mean, some of you know already. It is a cat product review channel. The reason being is I don't think there's anything decent online for sort of cat products, and you know, I love my cats and I like making reviews, and there's a fairly large amount of people making reviews on cameras. And so I made a video. It took a while, it took a few days to make this, about a week and a bit, and I really like it. And I shot it with a lot of cameras. So I shot it with the FX9, and I was using that because I was having to. It's about an automatic litter tray, and who knows when they're going to go. So I was rolling continuously with the FX9 on them for like 2 days. So the video camera works really well for that. There's no issue, obviously no chance of any overheating. It can run off the mains power. It has switchable card slots, and it was just perfect for that. And I actually shot it in HD because it would have been just too much data in 4K. I used a MAVO LF for super slow motion shots of crap falling in the litter tray. I used the A7 III, Sony A7 III, and A6600 for side-on shots, and depending on what I wanted. There's no real reason one or the other, it's just how it worked out. The A7R4 for pick-up shots. And I'm going to change it, making my face look a bit green. Let me just change this to a different colour. I'm now red. And then the GoPro and the Osmo Action were, obviously, if you see the video, you'll see where they were used. It's a crazy amount of cameras. There's no reason for me to have used all of them. It was basically just, it was also the GFX 100. Just because it's what I had to hand when I needed to grab some shots. Because, you know, I was editing it and stuff, and like, I need a shot of this, and I need a shot of that. And I just grabbed what I could. I could have shot everything with one camera. For sure, I would have made, maybe not the GoPro stuff, but it would have meant I wouldn't, if I used the FX9, I wouldn't have got the same super slow motion shots, which wasn't a big deal. But then the FX9 wasn't perfect for this because I needed to be quick at times to just grab what I needed from them. And so, you know, the idea of just grabbing an A7R4, which was by, near me, and grabbing the shots was perfect. And that's why, for me, I definitely have both. Video cameras and the stills cameras for shooting video, because I really feel that I do need them both. If I am shooting on a gimbal, then I prefer to use a small camera because of the weight. But if I'm shooting long form interviews and stuff like that, then I want a proper video camera for all the superior audio and stuff like that. So anyway, let's have a look at some questions. Here we go. Excuse me. Okay, I've got a question from Ben. Ben is asking, audio in camera v dual system sound. Well, without question, Ben, audio in camera. It's the same. Is my audio looking a bit loud? I think it's all right. It's the same when it comes to recording in camera or recording externally. Personally, I think if it's just you, for sure you do everything internally. Look, if you're doing your recording internally, if your camera has high quality internal recording like the FX9, then brilliant. Then use that. There's no real reason to use an external recorder. Now, what an external recorder will do that is a real benefit is it can record in an easier codec to edit. And some cameras will also output 10-bit, as you know, compared to internal 8-bit. Not like Sony's, though. The Sony's don't. The Eos R, though, records 8-bit internally, but it does 10-bit externally. So there's an advantage to that. But with audio, it makes sense. If you've got a camera with great preamps and proper audio inputs, as in XLRs, then in camera, without question. the reason dual system sound I was using quite a lot was when it was the DSLR revolution with the 5Ds and stuff. Audio just wasn't great. And look, you know, if you are going into like just a 3.5mm jack, then it's not ideal, is it? But you can get nice XLR add-ons from Sony, and Panasonic make one as well. So, but the thing is, it just depends on how many people you've got helping you, because if it's just you, it's another thing. It's like this here. It's just making sure that that's recording and that's recording. If it's just one button to hit record, it is way simpler. Pros and cons for both. How do I afford all those cameras? I basically sell my body for sex. No, I don't really. How do I this is what I spend my money on. I spend my money on my cats and cameras. So, I mean, some cameras I'm trying to think. So the Zcam is from Zcam themselves. That hasn't been bought, but yeah, the others I've bought. Fuji, Sony, all been bought. And I might get the X-T4 if it comes out at some point. But I don't really need any more cameras, and I told you this on my last live. I need to sell my cameras, and I've done all the photographs. I've just not actually got around to selling them yet, but I will soon. So I've got a question here. Wispy, thank you. Thanks for the question, Ben. Appreciate it. Wispy is asking, have I played with the X70 Z90? No. Those are the high quality sort of handycam type things. I do have the smaller Z80, I think. Maybe? I can't remember what it's called. I don't know which one. But it's the one I shot my Scathos Kittens series with, and I really like that. So, GFX 100 low light capability. It's okay. It's okay. Take a look at my film Sharmalipi from September of last year. And about 7 or 8 minutes in, maybe, there's loads of low light shots. Check it out. So Timothy, thank you, Timothy. Timothy Marks is asking, from my experience, how does a story dictate the type of cameras you use? So most of my work is documentary, right? So it's all about a camera which doesn't get in the way, but also works really well and nice and simple. If you ask me which type of camera do I prefer to shoot on, I need to qualify why I'm actually saying this. I like shooting on smaller cameras, not because of like it offers me big advantages in the image or the audio, simply down to speed. This isn't for handheld actuality where you're following people around. This is more for like just grabbing B-roll shots and grabbing stuff that's happening. So my autofocus is a bit sensitive right now. I don't think I have it on the right setting. So just forgive it if it keeps going off. I should check that beforehand. So I tend to be, also because I have the crappy back and running around with a heavy tripod and heavy camera is hard work. But it has its own advantages, and that's pros and cons. There's pros and cons for all of this stuff. Yeah, the X-T4 is out, but it's not shipping. I think they're not shipping it until May now. So you can't buy one. Well, you can buy one, you just won't get it. Let's have a look at some questions. And I'll put you on a nicer shot while I look at some questions. Boom. Okay. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Sigma FP. I've talked about that a few times. Currently it's missing quite a lot of things for me. So we shall see. Leo's asking, do I have any desire to work in film and TV in the future? I don't know what that means. I mean, I work in TV and film if jobs come up. I was shooting a feature-length documentary for theatrical release. Is it just looking? Is that a shadow? Is it there? That's there. Sorry. There's a problem with glasses. It's a pain in the ass to edit with. I was shooting a feature film documentary that started last year and was supposed to be filming around now, and it's been obviously postponed for a while. So that's going to have a theatrical release at some point if we ever get around to finishing filming it. So I work on all sorts of different things. So let's have a look at some other questions. Back on to me. Here we go. All right. And if you're going to ask a question, please do not ask a question, this camera, this camera. Ask actually a sentence and give me something in that question so I can work with it. Otherwise, it's just a very vague this or this. I've tried to get an S1H. So if you look to my gear review, best gear of 2019 video, I talk about the S1H and how I'd love to get my hands on it. And somebody from Panasonic did contact me after that and said, I'll get in touch with you after Christmas and see what we can sort out. And I've emailed them 2 or 3 times since and not heard back. I'm trying to get one. Cause look, I'm not going to buy one just for a review because that's crazy. There you go. Let's have a look at Dr. Boa is asking. So he's talking about I guess it's like the autofocus, lacking of autofocus from Panasonic. So yeah, for me, I would struggle for certain things with that autofocus. And that's basically talking heads and interviews. So for other stuff, as long as you've got lenses which have nice manual focus, no problem whatsoever. You know, I shoot with the MAVO, shoot with the Z cams, no issues whatsoever. And my 2 favourite lenses are manual lenses, the Fuji MK zooms. So it's just for interviews, because I do a lot of interviews, and I need to not be operating the camera because I'm asking questions. So it's that sort of thing. And I like to be able to even if I was operating the camera, just that, you know, I like the fact that the autofocus works so well. Whereas, you know, if you're doing it manually, you know, you're trying to play a video game or trying to keep in focus, which isn't going to work. So you go into a deeper depth of field. So I understand your concerns. Another question here. So, Terry, I did actually go through all my setup near the beginning, but just for people who are just joining me, I'm going to show you my setup. So, I'm doing my switching. Let me just stop down a bit. Doing my switching through the Atomos Shogun 7. Ooh, right. Sorry, couldn't resist. And so I have 3 inputs. The FX9, the Canon C200, and the Sony A7R4, which is what I'm filming on right now. And I can switch between them at the touch of a button, and it sends it out to you. It doesn't need all to be SDI, so you can get converters. I mean, that's part of the advantage of using, you know, video cameras like the FX9 here and the C200. Is that they have SDI connectors. One of the advantages of video cameras. The Sony has a Holyland wireless transmitter going, obviously sending signal out, and that has an SDI out. So I set everything to 1080p 25p, and it all matches. This Shogun 7 needs everything to match for it to work, which is... but it works. I'm happy with it. I think in future I should have the Atomos sort of like just out of frame here, so I can easily do it because of my eye line is all over the place. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. So a lot of these questions sort of come up every time I do a live stream. What I think about this camera or this camera. For me, when it comes to a camera that people ask, what do I think about a certain camera? Very difficult for me to answer that because unless I've shot with it, I cannot give a proper answer. I can talk about the specs and that's about it. You know, so like, you know, I've not used the X-T4. I'm sure it's great because, you know, I've got an X-T3 and the thing that's mostly missing from this is a stabilized sensor. Stabilized sensor, Ibis. So that looks good. The Eos R5. Now I like my Eos R. You know, it's not a terrible camera, but it's not a great camera. And the reason it's not a great camera is for stills it's very slow, but for video, the killer is the 4K has that crazy crop. And that for me kills the camera as a main tool. The autofocus is very good, and it has a flip out screen, if you like that sort of thing. Actually, you know, I actually really like flip up screens as well. It's really, a flip out screen is really kind of only really useful if you want to film yourself, and then you're kind of looking off camera with it. What I like about a flip up screen is, it's just for you're with the camera. It's not about filming yourself so much. So, but the Eos R5 has crazy high specs, but until I've actually used it, let's see what it's like, because nobody really has any use for 8K, but I want to see what the image is like. We shall see. Thank you very much, Justin. I appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Luke, you shot a feature film on the A7 III and had a black Magic Ursa Mini. You chose the A7 III for time and ease. Did you make a mistake? Well, it depends who you're selling it to, Luke. If you're selling it to like Netflix, then it doesn't hit the Netflix specs button. But actually, I don't even know if the Ursa Mini does. I'm sure somebody will tell me in here. But if it's to make a film to sell, nobody's going to ask you what you shot it on. Nobody, no distributor's going to. It's only the 4K streaming platforms who have specific technical requirements are going to ask it. Otherwise, nobody cares, really. So don't worry. If it looks good, looks great, whatever. Then if you're happy with it and the film is great, then who cares what it was shot on? Who cares? Good luck with it, Luke. Oof. Alright, so here's a question from Ralph. Why is Ibis such a hot topic if there's no stabilization in cine cameras or lenses? Okay, Raf. So there's a very good reason why Ibis is important in certain cameras. So like the FX9 doesn't have Ibis. That's fine. The cameras that need Ibis are things like the Fuji X-T3, because they have micro jitters if you're shooting handheld without a stabilized lens, and it looks terrible. What the Ibis does, it's not for like trying to make your handheld look like a gimbal or it's on a tripod. It's simply to remove those micro jitters. That's why the X-T3 was a huge problem for me as a camera to use handheld, because it just looked terrible unless I had stabilized lenses, and I only have one, and it's this, the 10 to 24, and I'm not going to shoot everything on a 10 to 24. That's why Ibis is so important on certain cameras, not on everything. Absolutely not on everything. Okay, where were we? Oh, I need a drink. This is the weirdest question. Winston Films is asking, what's better, 5 A7 IIIs or 1 FX9? If there's 5 people who need to be shooting at the same time, then 5 A7 IIIs. There you go. Okay. So some question about C200. What do I think about it? I've got a review on the C200. There you go. So let me talk about Netflix. So it's only for their originals, but I think they definitely do want to know the tech specs if you've made something for it. But if you can sell it to them, then great. Who knows? What would I do to match the A7? This is from Fendi Man. To match the A7R3 with the FS7 video. I would shoot S-Log2 to start with. I would shoot the profile that both of them have. Now the problem with the FS7, you need to shoot in Cine EI mode, I think. I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to think of, because I haven't used it for a while. But yes, I mean it is tricky. But the best thing to do is shoot a color chart for everything, and that will give you a working profile for each different lighting scenario. That's probably the best way of doing it, really. Alternatively, if you're using something like Film Convert have profiles for most cameras out there. And so what you can do is use those profiles. Make sure you're shooting those profiles, Film Convert Nitrate, sorry. And you get 10% off that with my surname, Bloom, at checkout. And it has all these cameras, and as long as you're shooting the profile that's supported, you can use it. And it looks great. And then the cameras match. So you have a profile for, say you shoot on an Arri Alexa. Okay, and then you're shooting on a GoPro in ProTune, and it's shooting on an EOS R in Canon log. If you're using Film Convert and those specific profiles for each camera and the same film stock, they should all match, and that's the joy of it. Okay. Here's Ben. You're going to ask a question like, what's the best B camera for an FX9? I can tell you what the best B camera for an FX9 is. Can you guess? The second FX9. Because it's going to match. Now, if you're after something small, though, then right now you're looking at an A7 III, really, or an A7 R4. Because there's nothing else if you want the Sony kind of look. Although they don't look that much alike, they look quite different. But anything, really. But maybe, you know, there's talk of an FX6, isn't there? I don't know what it's going to be. We shall see. And the mythical A7S III, which I have just here, but you can't see it because I haven't switched to it. Let me just switch to it, and then you can see the camera. There it is, and I'll just put it back. So that's the A7S III. It's all lies. So Metagamers is asking, is the A6600 worth it over the A6400? Yes, for exactly the reason I talked about. Two reasons. One is it does have Ibis, which the A6400 doesn't. And that's a problem with the micro jitters from the rolling shutter. It still has rolling shutter issues, but it doesn't have the micro jitters, which is very important. Secondly, it uses the FZ batteries, which are so much better than the crappy old ones it had in the A6400. They last so much longer. I'm hoping it lasts long enough for this entire live on this one, because these are the same batteries, but we shall see. So they're definitely worth it. Thank you very much, Motor Grubber. What is Mbps? Mbps? What's Mbps? Just tell me what it is for a second, and I'll think it. I don't know what that is. Am I being dense here? Frosty Flake has 2 FX9s coming on Tuesday. Frosty Flake, give us your address and we'll intercept UPS, whatever it is. Actually, they probably can't. It means going out. So enjoy them. They're amazing. Oh, so many questions. Artus Reynolds, what do I think of A7 III HLG modes? Ooh. They're good, but I still shoot S-Log2 because it's easier for me to match. Because if I want to match it with other cameras, I find it much easier to shoot with S-Log2 and other cameras. Well, if it's just on its own, then HLGs, yeah, they do look good. But I guess I'm so used to shooting log that's what I shoot. So, biggest change switching to Davinci Resolve. So I haven't switched, I'm still learning it. So the review that I put out on my new cat channel, One Man 5 Cats, link in the description. It was edited on the in FCPX. So I'm learning FCPX and Final Cut Pro 10, and Davinci Resolve. Resolve is a slower process for me. And because I actually got quite a lot of videos to make at the moment, I didn't want to spend... Final Cut Pro 10 is very simple, to be honest with you. Resolve is much more different, and I think it was just going to delay me too much. And it's quite a complex and long video, it was 17 minutes. So I didn't really want that to be the one. So I've done a couple of smaller edits on Resolve, and I am getting there. I just need a bit more time with it. So, no, I haven't tried the Vazen 40mm Anamorphics. Nope. Oh, so many questions. Oh, megabits per second. Compression's important. But 10-bit is also important, so they're both equally important. All right, let me tell you what this... If you've not been following my Facebook page or Instagram page, then this is the... Oh, whoops, that's the... Sorry, lollipop. Where does that go? Anyway, this is the UU... I can't read that writing on there. hang on, I need to just exit this, exit, right, exit. This is a mirror for screens which don't flip out, but can flip up and down. And what it does is it reflects the LCD screen. See? Clever, isn't it? And you can see it working a bit better in on my Instagram post and Facebook page. And it's like £8 on eBay. And it's from UU Rig. And the exact name of it is on that post. I got it on eBay. I saw it. I saw somebody using it. And I was like, what's that? And it came after about 10 days. So it wasn't super quick. It's like 25 quid on Amazon, which is a rip-off. I'm not going to talk about the Suri 50mm 1.33 Anamorphic. If you want to be entertained as to what happened to my one of those, check out last week's live. I tell you the sad story of the Suri 50mm Anamorphic and where it ended up. Never got to use it. Is the mirror selfie thing heavy? I think it's about the same weight as this piece of blue tack in my hand. It's pure plastic, fantastic. There is nothing solid about this or expensive about this whatsoever. It is cheap, 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 cheap. But it does the job. So there is a more expensive alternative out there, and it uses an arm to reflect the mirror. But I think it's for any camera that has an LCD screen rather than, I mean, if you don't have a flip up screen, it won't work. The screen needs to be flipped up, if that makes sense. So flip out won't work, and one that doesn't move at all doesn't work either. Right. Dan, yes, sorry, I have got your email. I've just been so crazy busy trying to get everything sorted. I just remind. Can you remind me in a couple of days, and I'll get it to you. Actually, remind me either tonight. Yeah, remind me tonight, because I'm probably going to go to the post office tomorrow because I've got to send some stuff. So maybe then. So Samuel P. I was supposed to be doing a collab with Kai a few weeks ago, but obviously all the crap happened, and we're going to do a collab remotely soon. Okay. And Luffy, I can touch my face at home because I am at home and I've washed my hands and I'm fine. It's only if you're outdoors and touching things, and then touch your face. Once you wash your hands and you're in the safety of my virus-free house, then yeah. And anyway, I am 99.9% certain I had the virus 7 weeks ago. And if you watch the FX9 review, you'll notice that when the VO first comes on, how different my voice is. My voice was terrible, and I did my best to get a VO done during that time. It was very difficult. Okay. Let me think here. So I'm not going to be doing a Sony Venice review because it's not a camera that interests me, or no, it's not a camera that I would ever use. It is an interesting camera. It looks great, but it's too big and heavy. It's not a single operator camera. Most of my stuff is either one-man band or with an assistant. It's not designed for my type of work. That's why the FX9 is great for that sort of thing. So no, sorry. No plans for any mega epic 2-hour views ever again in my life, because that was just crazy. Okay. What do I think about downscale shots? Jorge, can you explain what you mean more about that? If you're talking about just going from 4K to 1080p, what is it you're actually after for that? And I'm touching my face deliberately now because you told me about it. Okay. So what we got here? David is asking, how would you, as a musician, film your own concerts as a one-man job? Oof. Well, it's going to be very difficult for you. It depends. Are you at Wembley? Are you a small intimate venue? It really depends. I mean, most likely, if you can have a camera, at the back, as long as it's safe and secure to get a nice shot, or if you just want to go on the, it's very difficult. This is complicated, operating these different cameras. But if you're operating more than one camera whilst performing music at a concert, then that's crazy. So, okay. Whew, so many questions. I need to put this. Oh my god, I need to put this on slow mode. I don't even know how to do that, but I think I need to do it before I start the video next time. So just being bombarded with questions. C500 Mark II. So I don't want to keep talking about the same sort of stuff in each of these lives. I haven't used one, so there you go. I will try and get one at some point. So, do I ever get tired of being asked, what do I think of this camera? Well, if I'm going to do a live like this, what do I expect? It's going to happen, isn't it? So, it's whether I don't have to answer them. I could just choose to ignore. So, there you go. What's my absolute favourite lens for the FX9? I don't have one, I'm afraid. Kimosaurus. I like, there's no one overall lens for it that I love. I've got the 35mm 1.8 on right now, and I love that lens. It's frequently on my cameras because I think it's just a really great lens. But it's too small for the FX9 for handheld work, to be honest with you. So the 7200 is great. I probably need to get that 2470 Sigma. I think that will help me out a lot. I have the Tamron one and it's all right, but I think I need to get a Sigma one. So, okay. Yeah, the shirt is worn specifically to honour Josh Yo, Make Art Now, because of his amazing Anamorphic video, which went live a few days ago, which he spent months making. I can't recommend it enough. It's really fantastic. So, Josh, I'm wearing your shirt. His wife sent it to me. What can I say? It smells of him, and it smells musky. Oh. Okay. Inexpensive Blackmagic RAW. I have it on my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K, and because I wasn't using Resolve, I haven't really used it. It looks great from what I've seen, but the camera isn't my favourite. It's just a really awkward form factor. Really awkward. So what else have we got going on here? Do I know when the Panasonic S1H competitor will come out? Nope, no idea. Do I, have any chance, used a Zeiss 2it 12mm 2.8? No, I have used a Zeiss 2it something else, and I found the autofocus was unusable on it. So I don't know if this one's all right. So I've got a question here from Matt. Video versus stills camera. How does 10-bit 8-bit factor in decision which camera to use? 10-bit is an incredibly important thing. It cannot be emphasized enough. If you have a camera that can shoot 10 bits, then it's wonderful. You want to shoot 10-bit because it withstands grading so much better. It's a disaster otherwise. So like the Fuji, I did loads of gardening earlier, and my arms are aching, and this is a beast with a beast lens on it. So my film Sharmalipi that I filmed in Greece last year in the summer, this camera shoots H.265 10-bit, and it's great. but I didn't expect to be shooting so much. The story evolved quite a lot as I was making it, and I was running out of hard drive space because I always have backups. So I had 2 hard drives of 5 terabytes with me, and it wasn't enough. And I was running out of space, so I decided foolishly to switch from the 400 megabits per second H.265 10-bit to the 8-bit to save on space. And it just looked terrible. The 8-bit in it's terrible, banding all over the place. I really regret it. So I won't shoot anything proper onto 8-bit, as in any paid work. It's 10-bit. So I used to, but not anymore. For B camera stuff, sure, then I chuck in some 8-bit, but no, I don't, not anymore. It's just, I've gone past it. When you've started using 10-bit so much and then you have to use some 8-bit, if you've not nailed that exposure, it can be awful. So there we go. There's the question answered. Oh, okay. Justin is asking, vintage lenses for anamorphic or is modern best? So I'm not a real anamorphic expert at all. I do have some SLR Magic ones, which are okay, and some adapters. And I haven't used any of the new ones which are coming out, which look cool. But vintage ones, the thing about vintage lenses, they have such a cool look to it, and the coatings on the lens and everything. If you can find some decent ones and which aren't too crazy, then great. There's not a lot of choice when it comes to affordable anamorphics still. So we shall see. I have my Suri, as I mentioned briefly in this, but we'll watch last week's video. Live. What happened to it? So I haven't really used that. Well, I haven't used that yet, but one day I will. One day. So where are we? Okay. Why do I prefer full frame? While I like full frame, I also like medium formats. Oh, my arms are aching for that gardening, which is this bigger than full frame. The joy of full frame is the ability to use lenses which can give you a wider field of view and give you a shallow depth of field if you want to. You can still stop down. The joy of cameras like the FX9 and the Sony A7R4, etc., Nikon Z6, Nikon Z7, is they're switchable from full frame to Super 35. So you have the best of both worlds. So that's great. So I don't always want full frame, but sometimes I want it. So when I was shooting the Wonderlist, I think the best example of this was when I was shooting the Safari episode in Namibia and Botswana. So I was using the FS7, which is Super 35. So it was great for long lens stuff of animals in the distance, but I didn't like it for the closer up stuff. So I put on a Metabone speed booster, and that gave me a field of view equivalent to full frame and looked great. So I had the best of both worlds in a way. But now with the FX9, I have the same thing, but without the need for the speed booster and with amazing autofocus. I like options of having different things. So full frame isn't for everything, but it's for most things. It's the only thing for me full frame isn't for is getting stuff far away. That's the only thing. There's a question about from R. Elvsted, so I haven't said your name right. From Northern Norway, what video stills camera would you use outside in the cold? It depends how cold it is. So if you're in Norway, I don't film that much in the cold. I've never had any issues with my Sonys when I have been in the cold. Obviously, the beast type cameras like the Canon 1DX Mark II will work in anything, but it depends how cold you're talking about. So I really don't like the cold, so I do try and avoid those sort of places. But I've not know of any. A friend of mine who's a Sony Stills ambassador for Sony, he films in Tromsø all the time. It's where he lives and just films Aurora, and he uses Sonys, so he's never had any issues. There we go. And Stephen. Should he sell all his Sony gear to invest in the RF Eos R5 ecosystem? Wait for the A7S 3, I think you mean. I want to be like you when I grow up. Don't do that. So it's difficult for me to speculate about a camera that isn't out yet, the R5, because without question, the Eos R, which I'm going to switch to here, there. So I really should try and use these other cameras more. This is the Eos R, and it's okay. I talked about it before. I talked about its massive flaws. Now with the R5, what I need to see with the R5, which is important to me, is the 4K. Oh, 8K is cool, blah 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 blah, great. But what's the 4K like? As long as it doesn't crop the 4K and it's high quality, then I'm sold. 8K is just too much. I don't need it on a camera like that at all. I don't really need it on anything, to be honest with you. 6K is very useful for reframing on interviews. 8K, the biggest issue is the amount of data. It's going to be horrendous. So I would say wait for whatever Sony does announce, and then wait for the EOS R5 whenever that comes out. Because of the issues and the situation right now, who knows when anything is going to come out? I don't know. Thank you very much, Marlon. That's very, very generous of you. And Tommy Calloway as well. Marlon Cantillano and Tommy Calloway. Cheers, chaps. This is Hendrix and Tonic. And the spiffy gear. Oh, it's the Lumi. That's what it's called. I knew it would come to me in a minute. Lumi. I'm knackered. I shouldn't have done. This is basically what happens when an average day for me is I have something that, you know, especially with what's going on right now, is I know what I'm going to do during that day, and my plan is to do that. But then, while I'm doing something else, I get distracted. So, like, I was feeding the cats when I got up, and then got distracted by some mess, and so I started tidying stuff up, and then I ended up tidying something else up in the kitchen, and then that in the kitchen, and that took like 2 hours. Then I went into the garden because it's been magic weather, and I went into my catio, and I've got a roof which I can take on and off, so I took that off and I put it into the back of the garden, and then I saw that the ivy was overgrown, so I started cutting back the ivy. Before you knew it, 2 hours later, I'd cleared the garden, and then, so I'm knackered. Shouldn't have done that before doing a live. That is what I am like. I get sidetracked onto something else, and then do that properly, and eventually get onto what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's easy distracted. So thank you very much. Who else we got here? Master Trollware, thank you very much for the money. What are my thoughts on going to the used market for gear and to buy new? So things to look for, I've got so much. Are there things to look for before buying? So I've got so much gear to sell right now, and I haven't had a chance to put it up, and I will do soon. So all my stuff that I'm selling is in great condition, really great condition, and it's because I look after my stuff, and it really depends on what it is. So like in the old days of buying second-hand cameras, when they had tapes in it, there was obviously an issue because there's so many mechanical moving parts, and the hours that it had used was key. The amount of hours a video camera, which is, doesn't use tape, it's pretty much irrelevant, to be honest with you. Shutter actuations on stills cameras, yes, it does matter, but a replacement shutter isn't that expensive on most cameras. So as long as it's, from a reputable company, or if you're doing it in person, just don't do what Dave Mays from Kinetica did, which was use Craigslist and then invite people and then bring them back to your place where they rob you. I bought a second-hand lens for my Fuji GFX 100, but I bought it from I think it was mbp.com, from reputable places, and like with Wex, and you pay a little bit more, but it's going to be solid. It's going to be really good. And if you're if you're buying stuff from eBay and using PayPal, you have that protection as well, which is important. So if somebody is describing something as this and you get it and it isn't, then you have a comeback on that. So that is important, really important. So thank you, Marlon. Thank you, Master Trollware. New Village Pictures. Any advice on gaining new business? I guess I could do with a little bit more about what you mean about getting new business. You're talking about finding work away from what you do now, or finding work in this current thing we're in. So if you could just give me a reply, and I'll try to catch it. But it's always difficult if you're trying to do something new to try and get that different a different client when it isn't the normal stuff that you do. It's certainly what happened when I first went freelance in 2006. Spending 17 years in news and not wanting to do news anymore meant I had to start again from the bottom, and it took 3 years before I was starting to get the work that I really wanted to do. 3 years of doing stuff that I really didn't like filming, but I had to because I needed the money. So it's a difficult thing, that. Let me try and catch if there's any follow-ups on that. So Stin, if you go to, it's actually called for the MZ group, it's actually called the MZ Cinematic Masterclass. So I should rename it. I'm going to rename it. So MZ Philip Bloom Courses. So look out for that. Oof. God, I'm knackered. Okay, so finding work after this whole ordeal. So yeah, it is a worry because work has dried out for most people, and all my shoots are gone. So the only thing I'm doing to try and earn money is some sponsored YouTube videos. So like I've got a couple from Squarespace coming up, and one for Skillshare, which bring in some money, which is good. Not a massive amount, but anything helps. When this all ends, yes, the economy is going to be very, very problematic, and I don't know how many people are going to be hiring and stuff. It's just one of these things we just don't know until we get there, and I'm hoping that this ends relatively soon, but the realistic thing is it's not going to be relatively soon, and it's going to be for a while. So, most businesses are going to suffer really badly. And I don't know what sort of marketing budget they're going to have or things like that. So it's a question I think we're going to need to look at it when we come to that time and see what happens. Difficult. So Andre is asking, what do I think about smartphones for video recording, full frame, if they have full frame sensors in the future? Well, the problem is, this is the smartphone, right? And a full frame sensor is like, bigger than the camera block, but wider. And then you get the optics. So right now I don't know how they're going to do it, but I use my iPhone 11 for shooting video. I don't use it that much, but the quality is getting better and better. The biggest issues still is it's all deep depth of field and terrible in low light still. So these are the things they need to get past. Once they get past those, and I think computational photography is going to come into it quite a lot because the stills abilities are getting better and better. So I think the video will catch up. Ben is asking an extension cable for the multi-port on the FX9. Mine is... Let me use my other camera. So you can see mine is... Oh, let's get the focus on it. There we go. So mine is a bit stretched. So much crap on my camera. You can really see that it's stretched here. I'm trying to think if I can of any ones that... Have you contacted Zacuto and asked them if they know of any? Because I don't know any myself. It is definitely stretched, but not massively. I think partly because I don't put the extension arm on the actual Zacuto plate. I still leave it on the Sony one. Partly for that reason. So I hate to say I don't actually know. Sorry. Doesn't really help, does it? Okay. Where are we at here? Oh, it's 9:10 already. I've not had any dinner yet. Okay. Let's have a look. Look. Oh, yeah. Here, I'm going to tell you a story, just a break from all these questions. So, a few days ago, a friend of mine, he messaged me on Instagram saying, look, somebody is selling your masterclasses from MZ illegally, and they're selling it, you know, for a fraction of the cost. And so I contacted MZ, and they went through the whole the copyright type thing, and got it taken down. And because the guy has an Instagram account, his company, I messaged him anyway, and just to see if he replied. And I entered into a discussion with him about it. And it was hilarious. And maybe I should make a little video about the conversation I had with him, about his justifications for it. And it was funny. It was, let me see if I've got, let me read you some of the things from him. You'll like this. This is a bit different. Okay, so let me read some of the conversation I had with the pirate. He says, don't worry, all your stuff has been removed. And then I said, how about the others you stole from? Maybe I should do two different voices. So, no, I'm not going to do voices. That's going to be embarrassing. Because there's loads of other, there was like masterclasses, stuff was on there. Loads of other people had their courses pirated. And he said, by the way, there are a lot of websites that provide MZ courses for free. And I said, such as, and he went to Reddits and stuff like that. So then I said, so that makes it okay for what you did? And I told him about how much effort's been put into it. And I said that by you profiting from this illegally, jeopardizes any future masterclasses being made. Because if they don't make any money, then we can't afford to make them anymore. So his reply was, it's better than sharing it for free. Which is, you know, utterly, utterly ridiculous. His arguments... where's another one of my favourite ones? Where was it? It's so funny. I try to actually figure out where he was from. I engage in conversation about, hey, so what's it like where you are? And trying to get more information about where he was and things like that. And telling him his English is really good. I actually found out he's Russian. And he was saying he did. And then I asked him if you actually bought my course in the first place, pirating. He went, no. And then I said, you know, you only actually had 3 episodes of my 6-episode masterclass available, but you're advertising 7 or 6 of it, sorry. I said, you're actually ripping people off as well. So not only selling it cheaper, you're ripping people off. So it's a really long conversation. It was quite entertaining. And then he disappeared. There you go. Oh, no, the end of it was the best thing. Let me read the end of it. So, okay. Oh, so basically it was the sort of like that conversation about asking him about things, about himself and stuff. He sent me a screen grab of his phone to show other sites that are using it. And on it, it had some text on it, which was Cyrillic alphabet, and it was Russian. And so I was asking about that, and that's kind of where I learnt that it was Cyrillic and stuff. And he said, and on this conversation, I said, oh, that's really good to know because, you know, education is really important. And he went, yeah, you're right. And I said, worth paying for, really. Don't you agree? And he went, paying for what? I said, education. You know, like MZ courses. And he replied, definitely. That was the pirate. You can get my courses at bit.ly MZ, so it's MZED, Bloom. So there you go. But, you know, if you go to any of my videos recently, there'll be a link in there. He was funny, though. Yeah, he agreed with me that it's worth paying for the classes that he pirated and sold. Okay, where do we get to? Oh, blimey. So many questions. I need another drink. Dan, just email me, please. New village pictures. Oh, thank you again. What are you saying here is... Thank you very much for the money. I really appreciate it. It helps very, very much right now. You know, my new business venture is the the cat channel for cat products. I'm not reviewing cats. Talking about cats, I really should get a shot of Lollipop sleeping. There you go. So the new channel was launched last night with the first video. It's not going to make me any money for a long time. I am making it as a business, because I don't think there's nobody making high quality reviews for pet products out there. So I thought I'm going to combine two of my favourite things, which is making videos and cats and pets. So we shall see what happens with that. But right now, you know, I've got a few videos to make and here and there, so it'll be interesting times. Okay. How's the new Patreon going? Oh yeah, I really need to sort that out, don't I? Yeah. There we go. So I hope you're enjoying the live. I'm going to probably go for like just another 10 minutes and then end it because, as I said, I'm very knackered and I haven't eaten. So there you go. Ryan is asking which camera gives you the absolute best image, ergonomics and specs aside. Price wise, I mean, there's like the best image that I've personally have got from any camera is from the FX9. It's beautiful, and the MAVO LF is also really lovely, and also the GFX 100 is really lovely. So those are kind of like my three favourite looking images out of cameras that I have used. So, and they're all different cameras. Okay. Do I have any talents other than video making? Maybe? I haven't discovered them yet. And I'm getting on a bit, so... Am I running out of time? Probably. Okay. What have we got here? Jewel Karashid is asking, what computer am I using for editing? So I have an iMac Pro here. I don't have a Mac Pro. It's out of my price range, substantially out of my price range. So that's what I'm using, and it works great for what I need. I do have my PC down here, my MSI PC still, but I don't really use it. I haven't used it for ages. So I would love a Mac Pro, but they're just crazy expensive. I just love the Mac ecosystem. But then again, if you're just editing, it doesn't matter. Although if you're using FCP 10, Final Cut Pro 10, then you do need a Mac. So there you go. Andre again. Thank you, Andre. Thank you to those. Thank you to New Village. Here we go. I have huge experience video recording for the past 20 years. No, 30 years. I'm that old. What is my prediction for the next 10 to 20 years? Blimey. I think one of the biggest things we're going to see, and we talked about this briefly, is the way that computational photography will happen with video. And I think that's going to be a big thing. I think we're going to see a big change when it comes to the form of a camera and the way that technology will be able to get past some of the limitations that physics stop us being able to fulfill on smaller cameras. I think that's the biggest thing that we're going to see in the next 10 years. And I think it's going to be massive, but small, if you know what I mean. Michael Dean, thank you. It gets emotional when viewing my documentaries and surprisingly with my masterclasses as well. I wish to be able to do that. Thank you very much. I mean, I try really hard with everything that I make to... I always put everything into everything that I make. And I try to give things a narrative feel. Because I think it's important. It makes people watch it continuously. Like, the FX9 review has a narrative feel to it. Because it is a journey of discovery of the camera. And then halfway through, I'm having all these problems and how I get past them. It's got 3 acts. So... it is important. The same with the masterclasses. I wanted it all to be a continuous journey, culminating with the actually filming real projects. So Oh, lots of people donating money. Thank you, Clint. There will be cat treats for the cats. Mythical visuals. For low light with the A7S II. Cine 2, Cine 4. So yeah, I use Cine 2 for low light stuff with the A7S II. Not that I use it for a while. But with the other cameras still, I don't really use S-Log 2 for really low light because it's just not robust enough for it. So yeah, Cine 2. And who else we got here? Andre, thank you very much. Oh, Moul. I miss travelling. You know, I really miss travelling. So I was supposed to go out to Skiathos again to do the last filming for my series of documentaries about there because they should have had the land by now, but everything has gone crap. So, you know, the island is quarantined and the land purchase hasn't gone through because there's nobody there to do any work. So, you know, even if I could travel there, I couldn't do what I needed to do. So, I miss travelling and I love the south of France. What else have we got here? I've seen that one. So, I appreciate all the... Thank you, Richard Brown. That's very generous of you. Hang on, I'm trying to think. Why male models? Bryant, I don't understand the question. Am I missing something? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it has only been 2 weeks as such, but there's been lots of... It's been a month, so it's been about a month of change about how things have been progressively getting worse. I mean, my first jobs were being cancelled at the beginning of March. No, the first jobs I got cancelled were in the end of February. So that's when it started and things were changing. So yeah, crazy. Okay, so just a few more minutes and I'm going to go and eat. Oh, right, sorry. I didn't get the reference. Quite fancy watching it again. So Eli is asking, have I by any chance tried the SLR Magic Micro Cine Primes for Fuji? And yeah, I have the full set. And I used them in the masterclass, episode 5, and they're really great lenses. I mean, look, they are full frame. The downside to the micro primes on the Fujis is it's full frame lenses on APS-C body, so you're not getting the best out of the lenses, not getting the best sharpness, and you're of course not going to get the same field of view. So that's my only real downside to it, I would say. Yeah. What am I making to eat? So I have some, because I ordered some delivery food shopping weeks ago, and they got cancelled on the day, and I had to rebook it, and then eventually came. It was like 2.5 weeks after, so it's been like a 5-week journey of trying to get my food delivered, and I got these plant-based bacon. So I don't eat meat. I stopped eating meat a while ago, like 2.5 years ago, and certain things that I miss for sure. The reason I stopped eating meat was purely because I love animals and the way they're treated and stuff. I hate the idea of eating animals, but I do miss the taste of which sounds awful. I do miss the taste of certain things. So I've got a great replacement for burgers, which is all plant, and that's Beyond Burger, and now I've got some bacon. So I'm going to try my bacon, or maybe have it in the morning. I don't know. We shall see. Okay, so hello Bill in Athens. Greece are really doing a good job of their system of lockdown. I am impressed, to be honest with you, very impressed. So I think I've answered all of the main questions. I'm probably going to wrap it up now. And Cook Optics, Raphael, way beyond my budget. So, you know, I am a low budget person. The FX9 is a smidge under my cutoff for a camera purchase, in that I said after selling my F55, I'm never buying an expensive camera, a camera over £10,000 again, because I think it's just a waste of money. You can rent those sort of things. You need a daily work driver. And when it comes to lenses, again, Cooks are great, but they're so expensive and way out of my price range. They're rental type things. But yeah, there you go. Am I finding... Jean-Marc is asking, am I finding it harder to concentrate and work with the current COVID situation? Well, I'm not going out to... I'm not doing any shooting projects. I'm not being hired for any of those. So, but for editing, it makes no difference to me. So this is the thing, right? So the MZ Masterclass, I was editing from like on and off from April to September, and then solidly until February, beginning of February. Today all went out. And also the FX9 review, I was doing bits and pieces of that from November simultaneously, and that I released that like 2-3 weeks ago. I have been stuck at home for months with the occasional trip out. You know, I went 2 weeks without leaving my house at one point because I was so deep in the MZ editing. So I'm so used to this now. It's become the norm for me. So there's no real adjustments. The only big adjustment I've had is I just can't see my friends. And really hard is I can't see my parents. And I hate that. You know, before the MZ thing, I always used to see them every week. They'd come up to see me or go down there. And then I was working so hard, I wasn't able to go and see them that much. And now I can't see them at all. And that really sucks. So the next stream will be Friday, next Friday, as long as my internet doesn't go down. So I'm really sorry for the cancellations on Friday and Saturday, basically because everybody is home. They're all streaming, and it screwed up the Virgin Media where I am. So it went down for a day and a half, which was the right pain. I mean, I do have Blu-rays and movies on hard drive, so I was okay watching TV myself, but I couldn't do a live. I could upload a video for the cat channel, but I couldn't do a continuous live. It was too much data. So thank you very much, and all of you, and I hope you're well, and I hope you're being creative. I'm going to put out a video in the next 3 days, which is going to be a shooting challenge for you, and I'd love for you guys to take part. You know, especially if you are stuck at home, it's going to make you really think hard about how you shoot, and it's going to really put you out of your comfort zone. I think that's really essential. You don't want to be out of your comfort zone the whole time, but you know, if you're shooting and nothing is challenging you, then you'll never improve. You'll never get better, and that's really important to get better. And the only way you do that is to take risks and do different things. Oh dear, so my throat is so dry. Oof. Okay, thank you, Darius. Little girl, Lollipop. I mean, on the Switch, I haven't done many different camera thingies here. Lollipop says thanks. Lollipop! Hey, don't really want to wake her up. But, oh, Lollipop! She is completely flaked out, and none of the others are here. And so just one last look at all the stuff I have here. So tonight I was doing all the switching with the Atomos Shogun 7. So the main camera was the FX9, and the audio was with the Rode NTG4. The B camera was the Canon. I'm so knackered. Canon C200 with the brilliant Sigma 18-35 on there. This camera here is... Was I switched over? I don't even know if I was actually switched over. Is the Sony A7R4. I hope I was switched over to this camera when I was doing that. Oh, it's so complicated. And all of this stuff down here, cameras. I didn't really talk about the Z cams. Didn't get a chance to. But these are really good budget, really high quality stuff for the specs. All these other cameras here. That's my gin and tonic. This is you guys here. And I just want to say thank you very, 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 very much. And I don't even know if I was on the right camera there. Clearly, it is time for me to say good night, and I'll see you on Friday, 8 p.m. UK time. I don't even know where the button is to end it. I think it is this one. No.